Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Fan Perspective. I am your host Nathan Nile. It is Monday, which means another edition of NBA Weekly. And I don't know about you, but for me, this is also spring break, which is why I'm waking up a little bit later, which is why I'm uploading this at noon instead of 9 in the morning like I usually do, because I was asleep still. Anyways, the Miami Heat have now won a league season high and a franchise record 18 straight games, and for the first time since the beginning of the season when New York started 10-0, a team from the Eastern Conference has the best winning percentage in the NBA. The Denver Nuggets have now won 8 straight. The Thunder have won 5 straight. The Grizzlies have won 4 straight. The Nets, the Lakers, and the Mavericks have now won 4 straight. Meanwhile, the Charlotte Bobcats have dropped 10 straight and are the first team to lose 50 games this year. Woohoo! Go Charlotte! Detroit and Philadelphia have lost 5 straight. The Utah Jazz have lost 4 straight. And I also wanted to point out that the Spurs got blown out by the Portland Trailblazers on Friday, and people are making way too big a deal out of it. Because people started saying, well, you can't even beat a team like Portland. They're not even in the playoffs. They must suck without Tony. They can't do anything. They're going to lose everything. I just wanted to point out the fact that, one, Portland has always given the Spurs fits. And despite how big a deficit it is, they did lose by 30 points. It was still only one loss, and the Spurs are still the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. At least for now. Oklahoma is only 1 game behind them. Anyways, I wanted to take some time to talk about the playoffs, because things are really starting to shape up. But the Miami Heat became the first team to clinch a playoff spot. For those of you who don't know what that means, what it is if Miami loses every single game from here to the end of the season, their record will still be good enough that they'll be in the playoffs. It's a nice accomplishment, but that doesn't mean as much simply because they are in the Eastern Conference. The 5th seed in the West has more wins than the 2nd seed in the East. Also, the Atlanta Hawks, who were once in the top 3 of the Eastern Conference, have fallen to the 7th seed and are barely in the playoffs right now, honestly. If it wasn't for the fact that all the other teams suck so much, teams like Atlanta and Milwaukee might not even be in there this year. The Jazz, meanwhile, they've been on a losing streak, and they have just been overtaken by the Lakers for that 8th seed. And if Houston and Golden State don't start winning again, the Lakers could leapfrog them too. Not to mention that Portland and Dallas are only a couple of games behind the Lakers and Jazz. I mean, the Eastern Conference, it's basically set. I don't see any surprises happening there. But the Wild Wild West is still in full swing. Anything could happen. Anyways, a few milestones for you this week. Ray Allen is now tied with Shaq for 25th on the all-time list for career games played with 1,207. Steve Nash needs to play one more to tie Alex English for 31st. Tim Duncan needs to play one more to tie Horace Grant for 38th. Kevin Garnett has now played more career minutes than Reggie Miller and is currently 7th on the all-time list. Ray Allen passed Oscar Robertson for 15th on the all-time list. Dirk Nowitzki is only about a minute and a half behind Charles Barkley for 29th. Kobe is now 65 made field goals behind Elvin Hayes for 6th place on the all-time list. Vince Carter is now 13 away from 8,000 for his career. Paul Pierce needs to make 6 more 3-pointers to reach 1,800 for his career, and he would only be the 6th player in NBA history to do so. Joe Johnson now has 1,400 for his career. J.R. Smith needs 11 more to reach 1,100 for his career. Manu Ginobili needs 14 more to reach that same mark, and Ron Artest needs 14 more to reach 1,100 for his career as well. Keith Bogan needs 5 more to reach 700 for his career, and O.J. Mayo needs 3 more to reach 600 for his career. Paul Pierce is now 7 made free throws behind Allen Iverson for 10th place on the all-time list. Tim Duncan is now 54 career rebounds behind Shaq for 13th place on the all-time list. Dirk Nowitzki is now 49 away from 9,000 for his career. Paul Pierce is 10 steals behind Terry Porter for 28th on the all-time list. And now a few games to look forward to in this coming week. Everything that's being played between now and the next episode on Friday. On Monday, there are 5 games being played, and 2 of them really stick out. First and foremost, of course, what I'm considering to be the game of the week, though of course I am a little biased, I am a Spurs fan. But for me, this is the most exciting game on the schedule. You've got the Spurs at the Thunder. The two teams in the West battled it out for first place. They split their first two meetings with the home team winning each one, and both of those matchups were before the Parker injury, so we could easily see a changing of the guard for that top spot in the Western Conference. And then you've got the Knicks at the Warriors. If the Warriors continue losing, they could end up finding themselves out of the playoffs. But the Warriors have actually been a fairly decent home team this year. Far from great, but decent. And then on Tuesday, 8 games being played, and here's what I plan on looking at. You've got the Hawks at the Heat. The Heat are 1 game away from sweeping the season series, and the Hawks are currently only 1.5 games ahead of Milwaukee for that 7th seed. So there's a good chance that if they keep losing, then they're going to end up playing the Heat in the first round, which nobody wants to do. And then later you've got Dallas at Milwaukee. Milwaukee is basically guaranteed a playoff spot simply because the other teams like Toronto and Detroit, they just keep losing. Meanwhile, Dallas, they need to continue winning to have any chance of sneaking into the playoffs at the end of the season. They're only like 3 games out of it though, so it's not impossible. And then you've also got Memphis at Portland. Memphis has been one of the top teams in the West for the majority of the season, while Portland found its way out of the playoff conversation because of multiple long losing streaks. But with teams like Utah, Houston, and Golden State losing more games than they win, the Blazers could still potentially get in if they continue playing like they did against San Antonio on Friday. And then on Wednesday, we've got a full slate of 11 games being played. Here are the 4 that I think show the most interest. The Lakers at the Hawks. I mean, who knows? By this point in the week, it could be 2 7th-seeded teams going against each other. You know, you've also got the Jazz at the Thunder. And even if the Jazz are currently out of the playoffs, they're not too far out yet. I mean, they can easily make their way back in if they start winning again. That does not seem likely, though, against a team like the Thunder. They did split their first 2 meetings against them. Unfortunately, the home team won each time. And then you've got the Knicks at the Nuggets. Denver is on a hot streak right now, while New York is back and forth with Indiana for that 2nd seed. New York managed to win the first time, but as of filming this video, the Nuggets and the Heat have the best home records in the league. And then, of course, you've got the Grizzlies at the Clippers. These teams are fighting it out for 3rd place in the West, and the Clippers have handled the Grizzlies all year long so far. They have not lost to Memphis this season. And then on Thursday, as customary, we've only got 2 games being played. Both of them are marginally exciting, I would say. You've got the Mavericks at the Spurs. The Spurs have a chance to sweep the season series, but the Mavericks are looking to capitalize on the absence of Tony Parker and try to get 1 step closer to sneaking into the playoffs. You've also got the Knicks at the Blazers. Portland was able to go to New York and steal a win, and they look to sweep the season series and inch closer to a playoff spot. New York, it continues its tough schedule and tries to maintain their place in the top 3 in the Eastern Conference. And that's it for today's episode. Tune in next week. Tune in on Friday for another edition of NBA Weekly. And until then, I'm your host, Nathan Lyle. This has been the Fan Perspective. Happy Monday. Have a good week. If it's spring break to you, I hope yours is more enjoyable than mine, because for some reason my teachers don't believe in spring break and I've got to work on projects and study for midterms. I'm fucking pissed about that. Anyways, have a good day. Happy NBA to you. Whatever the hell that means. Anyways, I'm out. Peace.
Can't stand the heat to get out the wild. When I roll into the